Hi, hello, how are you? I'm Alex, and today I will be throwing it back to book tags by doing the mid-year book tag. Yes, I am stuck in a pre-2015 world. I know it's 2021, and I don't care. I don't care. So, deal with it. I'm actually kind of excited about this tag just because I'm not freaking out. I had a pretty good year for reading, and I'm excited to talk about some of the books that I read and some of the books that I'm excited about that came out this year and that are going to come out this year, and the rest of the books that I'm looking forward to reading before the end of the year. Last year I read 35 books, and this year I made my goal 40 books because I was like, you know what, I'm gonna push it. I'm gonna read 5 more books than I did last year. I wish I was one of those readers that read like 100 books a year just because there's so many books that I want to get through and so little time. It is now June 18 and I have read 39 books. And I'm currently reading my 40th book. So I'm probably going to finish my 2021 goal before mid-year. I did not expect that to happen, especially because the year started so slow. My new goal is just to read all the unread books that I have. When I realized I had 60 unread books, I was like, okay, that's way too close to 100. I think in the future I'd like to keep it at maybe 10. We'll see. Without further ado, let's get to the video. The first question, or the first prompt, whatever thingy, is what was the best book you read in 2021? We have Before the Coffee Gets Cold by Toshikazu Kawaguchi. This is a very good book. It's super cozy. It's about this weird little cafe where you can travel back in time, but there are a very specific set of instructions, including getting back before your coffee gets cold. Excellent. I love this book. You should read it. Then there's The Handmaid's Tale by Margaret Atwood. This blew my mind. It blew my mind. I read it in 2 days. I devoured this. It's about a dystopian future kind of thing, like near future, after another civil war happens, and it's set in the US. And it follows Offred, who is a handmaid. And the purpose of handmaids pretty much are they're the last remaining fertile women. So important men have handmaids so that they can produce offspring. And it's super messed up and really good, and it's a difficult read in the sense that the topic is difficult, but it's a very quick read in my opinion. It's a page turner, and I'm really looking forward to watching the show, although I'm scared. I am afraid to see what happens. I'm also really excited to read the sequel because I heard the sequel is amazing. Lab Girl by Hope Jaharan. I think that's how you say her name. I'm not sure. I love this book. I am a woman in STEM, not like other girls. And I resonated with this book a lot. It's about her experience. It's a nonfiction. It's about her experience as a woman who works in research, who has a lab. And she studies ancient botany. I don't know. She studies botany. And as a student in science, I'm doing my master's in environmental science, specifically conservation and biodiversity. I really resonated with this book, and I thought it was funny, it was relatable, it was cool because every other chapter she describes a stage of growth or life of a plant or a tree and connects it somehow to her own life and her own experiences. And it's really well done. The Glass Castle by Jeanette Walls. This book is wild. it's wild. I also read it in 2 days. My sister has been bugging me for a while to read it, and I'm really glad that I did because it blew me away. I cannot believe the life that Jeanette lived, and I cannot imagine the amount of strength and grit it took to get through her own life. Her childhood was just, it's nothing you can imagine. And every time you read something and you're like, wow, that's really out of pocket, it just gets worse and worse. If this was a fiction novel, I think I would have read it and been like, that's not believable. Like, I don't like how unbelievable it is, because her life is truly unbelievable. You should seriously read this, especially if you're going through a reading slump, because it's a page turner for sure. And finally, on this first prompt list, I have Indian Horse by Richard Wagamese. Richard Wagamese was an Indigenous Canadian author, and this book is incredible. It's about Saul Indian Horse, who was stolen from his family and brought to a residential school, and it follows his life as he grows up and comes to terms with the trauma and the abuse that he experiences, and how he tries to figure out how to heal from all of that. The next prompt question thingy is the best sequel that you read this year. I don't really read series that much, and a lot of the time when I do read series, I read the first book, which is usually fine as a standalone novel. The only sequel that I read this year that I can remember is volume 2 of the Lock and Key graphic novel. I wasn't crazy about it. I like this series. I like the first book a lot. I think it's a very original, very unique story, and I think it's incredible. It's like horror fantasy. But I didn't like the sequel or any of the other following volumes that much, just because there were a lot of trigger warnings that I found unnecessary to the development of the story and to the development of the characters, in the sense of language that was used and just verbal abuse. So yeah, that's the only sequel I read, and I wouldn't say it was the best, even though it's the only one. Okay, now we will get into the new releases of this year from January 2021 to June 2021 that I haven't read yet, but I'm super excited to read. There's One Last Stop. I know that this is a sapphic novel, and I'm really excited to read it. I don't typically read romance, but I heard so many good things about this. My friend Bridget from Bridge Reads Books on TikTok, she loved it. She got it as an ARC and she was obsessed with it, so I'm super excited to read it. Then there's The Other Black Girl, which is like a mystery thriller kind of book that I'm really excited to read. It has a gorgeous cover. I love this cover. I think it's amazing. Then there's Detransition Baby, which I also heard a lot about, and it's about being a trans woman, and it's about family, and it's about relationships. And this cover is also gorgeous. Wow, I love the colors. I think it's beautiful. Then there's Mango and Peppercorns, which is a memoir about food and family. I don't like to know too much about books before I read them. Obviously, I look at reviews to see if people enjoyed them, but I don't like to know too much about the plot, just because I want everything to be a surprise. My most anticipated read for 2021 that hasn't come out yet, you guessed it, it's Beautiful World, Where Are You by our Lord and Savior, Sally Rooney. I loved Conversations with Friends. I loved Normal People. So I'm over the moon about her new book, and I cannot wait to read it. My biggest disappointment of 2021, other than the year itself, is The Wind-Up Bird Chronicle by Haruki Murakami. I'm sorry. I also tried reading Kafka on the Shore by him. I got maybe a quarter way through and I just didn't like it. I appreciate his talent for writing a lot, This was also a very long book. It took me forever to read it. It's over 600 pages, and I found it exhausting to read. I think Haruki Murakami's writing is just overly sexual, and the way he describes women is just so strange to me, and it's not in a way that adds to the story. I was really disappointed because a lot of people love Murakami, and I understand why, but he just wasn't for me. And I don't think that I'm gonna try another one of his books unless someone convinces me at gunpoint. I just don't think he's for me, and I don't want to read books and authors that I don't enjoy that much. Sorry. Next up is the biggest surprise, which is Dune by Frank Herbert. I really like this, more than I expected to. It's long, very long, but I wanted to read the book before I saw the movie because I'm excited for the movie. I really like sci-fi movies, but I don't typically like sci-fi fantasy kind of books. But this was really well done. I really like the parallels with the politics in the Middle East, specifically with their connection with North America and the extraction of oil in the Middle East and the amount of war that North America has brought to the Middle East, and also the parallels with the Islamic culture and the Islamic religion. I thought it was very interesting. I like the first two books in it a lot better because it's separated in 3 parts. The last one was super political, and I don't understand politics and like military strategy at the best of times. So when you make it fictional, it gets that much more complicated for me. But otherwise, I really liked it, and I might continue with the series. I'm not sure, but I'm really excited for the movie. The next thingamajiggy is favorite new author. It was either debut author or someone that's new for you, and for me that was Richard Wagamese. Unfortunately, he passed away in 2017, so he has nothing new coming out, but I'm looking forward to reading all the books that he did publish because he's an excellent writer. New fictional crush, Behemoth, the talking black cat. Enough said. New favorite character is probably the unnamed main character from My Year of Rest and Relaxation. She was just so fun to hate. She was so dislikable. Oh my god. She was kind of a shitty person, but also I related to her a lot. Red flag? Yes. But yeah, that's probably my new favorite character. Then there is book that made you cry and book that made you happy. I didn't read anything that made me cry. I definitely read stuff that made me sad, but didn't read anything that made me cry. But book that made me happy, I guess, is Green Gage Summer by Rumer Godden. I like this book. Most beautiful book I bought this year. As I said before, I'm doing a book buying ban, so I haven't bought anything, and I don't have anything for this. And finally, it's books or book that you want to read before the end of the year. I have this thick stack over here. Pretty much I want to read everything that's unread on my bookshelf, or specifically from the books that I have on my shelf. I want to read everything in this stack. The Kite Runner by Khalid Hosseini, Emma by Jane Austen, Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen. No, I haven't read this yet. Okay, please. The Waves by Virginia Woolf, The Bluest Eye by Toni Morrison, the last 2 books in the Area X trilogy, or the Southern Reach trilogy by Jeff Vandermeer. I read Annihilation, so I need to read the next 2. I read Annihilation like over a year and a half ago, so this is embarrassing. Just Kids by Patti Smith. And finally, Hollywood Park by Mikhail Gillette. That's all for today. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you for watching, if you got this far. And let me know in the comments what you're looking forward to reading before the end of 2021 and what your reading goals are. and like this video if you like this video. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.